Here's the deal. The more you pay attention, the more you become aware how important it is to reflect on and be aware of your choice of language.
Welcome to Events Demystified podcast, the Rant series, where we go off the cuff and say it as it is, tackling anything and everything in the AV production, technology and event industry that not a lot of people are willing to talk about. The Rant series is short and spicy, comes out twice a month in between the more tamed interview-style episodes. This podcast is brought to you by Tree Fan Events, a woman-owned boutique event production agency, and your host is Anka Trifan. Thanks for tuning in.
I've worked in event productions for half my life and I have worn many hats over the years. My training is that of a sound engineer, but that doesn't mean that I didn't get into video productions. And oh God, COVID brought the onslaught of editing pre-recorded content. Thanks, COVID. Also, I love lighting. I love the emotion of colors, and that brought me into learning more about lighting design and how to program those pretty lights that make your event special. I still wear many hats, many of which are very technical and production heavy. And for the longest time, it didn't bother me that clients would refer to the people in the back of the room, behind the scenes as the AV guys, even if one of those people was myself. Over the years, I've, however, become more aware and came to realize how pervasive our choice of labels and language truly is, because by it, we either invite or deter someone from ever considering pursuing a dream and a career, because we make it so freaking darn inclusive to just a male-only demographic. And this is something that actually has driven me to leave my own home country in my early 20s, because I saw no opportunity whatsoever to pursue a technical field, because everything and everywhere I looked, everyone I talked to was either a guy, an old stinky guy doing the same old stinky job, and there was just no room for a young girl like me to get into the industry. And I felt very discouraged, and I just needed to do something about it. And for me, the only way to get out of that was to actually fly my pretty little ass all the way to US. There's also this thing where if you do ask an AV production owner about this and you bring up the conversation, in many cases, when they're put on the spot, they will say things like, "Oh, but we definitely welcome women among our ranks." Only if you do dig deeper, you realize that, yeah, they do welcome women among their ranks, like to do, office work or scheduling or, just the planning jobs. Rarely is when women are given a chance in the driver's seat. Now, that's not to say that I have not worked with some amazing people where I found my number one supporters in the production field to be men. And because of those number one male supporters, I was able to advance in my technical knowledge and I was given a chance to be in the driver's seat. But those are the happy stories. Those are the few in between that you don't hear about that often. And even in those happy cases, the language still remains the same most of the time. And I think that it is time that we all agree it's no longer acceptable for anyone to say the AV guy this and the AV guy that. That is an AV person or an AV tech that we're referring to, because 100% we want to be inclusive and welcome all in any tech position, and it should never be limited to guys only. So by our own choice of language, we become inclusive or not. And it is time that we take responsibility for it. The change starts with me and you. Women are hard workers, and a woman in a tech role will never flake on you. I'm going to tell you this from experience. However, if not properly trained, that means she wasn't given a chance, or there wasn't time and mentoring for her to get there. Now, I know that this podcast, the main audience and the main listeners are men, and this is my appeal to you, fellow tech nerds out there. You're the ones that can lead the change. We depend on you. I depend on you as my number one listeners. Let's change our language. Let's be aware of others using it and correct it nicely and kindly. We want to be more inclusive. We want to give women a chance and a seat at the table. And how can we do that as we're embarking to this new year? If we're all in this together, then better prove it with some actions. And yes, I won't come back and check on you, but now that you're aware, your conscious will. So this is basically the end of my rant today. I hope that you received it in love, and I hope you don't get offended. However, we need to do something about this, and it starts with me and you and being aware of how pervasive it is to use our labels one way or another, and just be aware of it. And instead of just letting it sleep, stop yourself and rephrase it, or say, hey, I'm sorry, I meant this and it just slipped my tongue. End of rant, brought to you in love by yours truly.
Thank you for listening to the Rant series of Events Demystified podcast. If you enjoyed this series and the other interview-style podcast episodes, please take a moment to review it and rate it. If you'd like to take it one step further, feel free to share it with your network. Connect with Anchor on social by tagging @Events Demystified Podcast. And if you'd like to learn more about Tree Fan Event Services and find out if we're a good fit in supporting your event, can we help your event be successful with a 20-minute free consultation? Link in the episode's notes. Thanks for tuning in.